only way to see improvement, cause patience is a virtue. Don't skip the lessons for you. This ain't a race, stay your pace. Robots coming for you. Life can be, don't crash so hard. Just know
Hey, Trailblazers, just wanted to say thank you all for the support and the patience. We hope that you've all have subscribed to the channel by now, or dropped a comment at least. But if not, this is your time. So before we start this video, I have a little disclaimer. So I forgot to start filming on time, so I jumped a couple minutes into the episode, which gives you guys more incentive to check out our podcast through Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts from. So tune in. Thank you for the guests. Make sure you listen to the sponsored ads in the video. So our guest is an instructor at Hastings College, a public speaker who's done awesome events for his college. He is the owner of YOUVsYOU. He's a former college athlete. He's traveled and been an international competitor. He's a big brother. He's an NIYB member, for those who know. He's an early riser. He's a motivator. He's an educator, a new fiance, and my great, great friend. So everybody, please give a warm welcome to Casey Malafua to the podcast.
You know, so, man, what, 10 years ago, that was a decade ago. Look how much we've grown, bro.
I swear. Okay. So where are you from? Like your origins, where are your parents from?
Okay, so my mom is from East Hartford, Connecticut, which is on, obviously on the East Coast.
Yep.
When I was in California, like, oh, my mom's from Connecticut. Like, oh, what country is that in? Like, bro, that's, it's in New England. It's right by Massachusetts. So my mom is from East Hartford, Connecticut, and my dad is from Oahu, Hawaii.
Shout out.
I was born, all four of us kids are born in the San Diego area, Oceanside Vista, California. Shout out Oside. So yeah, I was in Oceanside for 6 years, or like Vista for like 6 years. We moved to Connecticut for 5 or 6 years, went back to California for like a 9-month hiatus.
Yeah.
And California's just expensive as hell, man.
That's why we left too, but yeah, go ahead.
And my dad got a job offer in Missouri, and so we were like, hey, let's move cross country halfway this time. You know, my dad drove a U-Haul. I still can't fathom this. That my dad drove a U-Haul from California, Southern California to Connecticut, and then back with 3 kids under the age of like 12. You know, like, and you don't have Google Maps. Yeah. The Waze app was not.
You gotta write everything down.
So you got Mateo in the seat, like reading the atlas. You know, so Mateo learned from a real young age how to read a map, and I'm just like, man, what a skill, a lost art form,
like,
man.
If I didn't have Google Maps or Waze, I'm like,
we'd be screwed.
What? Oh, I'm scared.
We'd be screwed. So we learned how to use a key on an atlas real early as kids. So, and I think that's like what molded me. One of the when I look at like my, you know, the 5 things that I enjoy about myself.
Yes.
One of the questions that we had yesterday is adaptability. I think you know, I went to 4 different elementary schools in 5 years. You know, and I moved 10 times. Even when we got to Lincoln, we moved 2 or 3 times before we really got settled in down on North First. So I think it really forced me to be adaptable, but it also came with a curse of like trying to always fit in.
Of course.
Which I kind of talked about yesterday too.
You have to adapt, especially as a kid. You want to be accepted. You want to be
liked,
involved.
you know.
Yes. We're young. This is what a child is being about.
So
that's how I felt, especially coming as a refugee. Going to Dallas, like, I know my language and I kind of know English, but I'm still an outsider in a sense. Because when we moved to San Diego, it's like I'm in preschool. I don't know anything about race or anything. So I'm still kind of left out because I got to make new friends. And then first time I'm actually aware that I'm the outsider. I'm not a black guy, but I'm an African. Hey, you're not like us. You're an African booty scratcher. I'm like,
we all from Africa.
Yeah, and don't we all scratch our booty? Like, this is when I first experienced like people trying to separate me from.
Yeah, man.
Because the white people were telling me that I'm black, but the black people were telling me I'm African.
Yeah, isn't that funny though? Like when you're that young, you don't
I don't know.
At first, yeah, you don't really know. We're so naive to the world. And actually, and maybe that just came with age, but like when I got to Nebraska was really when I was like, oh,
yeah,
this is real,
yeah.
you know? But that also was cool too, because I went to a very diverse middle school. I went to one of the most diverse high schools.
Literally.
So
rich.
And maybe that was like for my parents too. Like they just were always so welcoming of everybody who came into my,
Yep.
you know, my dad always said respect isn't given, it's earned, you know?
Facts.
And so I don't know. I think that was taught by my parents, and it was just kind of reciprocated by the kids, where it was just like, you know, you don't judge somebody off the, you know, the color of their skin, but really of like who they are as a person and their character.
I swear.
And so I was just very naive. And then when I really started to learn, like, not all these people really like me, you know, and a lot of it has to do with the color of my skin. And I'm, you know, I just kind of have that caramelization. Like,
yes.
you are black,
Yeah,
you know?
Black.
So it's like, I get it to an extent. I always tell the story about when Joe T first got to Nebraska, this little girl was at Taco Bell. I was like, why is his skin so dark, to her mom?
Oh, snap.
And yeah, so it's just, it was a little different in Nebraska, but at the same time, man, like, there's so many loving people in Nebraska, you know, like
easy.
My fiance, she comes from a town of 700 people, Caro, Nebraska. And I was nervous, you know, but she was just like, they have to understand that you treat me very well.
Exactly.
And if they can't love you for that and they want to judge you off the color of your skin, then maybe those aren't the people that we need to be around. And I was almost creating this facade in my head, like, oh, they're going to judge me for having a full sleeve of tattoos for the color of my skin. And it was the exact opposite. I just had to earn my respect. You know, It wasn't going to be given to me. So it's cool, man.
That's the same kind of thing that I went through with Haley's father. Cause like Haley's the youngest of, I think, 5. So
she's the baby.
Yes. So she was babied in that sense, but her older sister, Lisa, was the first one to date out of the race. And this was like 70s, 80s, like interracial dating, still kind of like taboo. So I talked to Dick, he was like, I talked to Haley, she was like, I think my dad was racist back in the day, but he became exposed and had the exposure of not all black people are like this or all Hispanic people are like this. Because if you don't have firsthand experience, you're going to listen to what media says about these people or what the movies or the music say about these people until like they have that firsthand experience, like with Casey's parents. Wow, this guy is not what I thought.
Yeah.
And it's taking me off rip. He's a human being. He's a very competent, intellectual person who takes care of my daughter. Yeah,
and I think that was what was awesome about yesterday. You know, when you look at the that seminar workshop that we kind of hosted yesterday was something that Taj wrote down on his piece of paper. Was like, we need to have more like this.
Yes.
Like more opportunities for people from polar opposite sides of the world, both literally and figuratively.
Yes.
To conversate around struggle and self-growth and self-improvement. Because it's just cool to see, you know, like my mom comes from the literally the most east part of the country that you can get, and my dad was literally as far west you can get in Hawaii, and somehow they,
middle.
You know, so there's some diamonds in there, there's some gold nuggets in there that I think are pretty cool and just
I agree.
Almost unexplainable, you know.
I agree on that aspect. So let's kind of take it back. So when you left high school, what were the things that you were certain that you were going to do?
Man,
give people some kind of like
I'd be making up an answer, bro. Like in God honest truth. Like I honestly did not know.
Was it just you knew you were going to do athletics?
I knew I was going to do athletics. Like I really wanted. I could not give up football. I had more offers for baseball. I
didn't know that.
I loved baseball. Baseball has always been my pastime, but I just couldn't give up football. And so I signed to Hastings. I think me and Alex signed in like late February, like late March or early March, way after National Signing Day. And so we got to, in April of 2011 was my dad had a stroke. And so like that really changed everything. And that's when I first started like rumbling with like, how am I trying to say this? I was really trying to like rumbling with being independent, you know, because I always had my dad to like lean on, and he was like my leader. And I didn't have that anymore. And so I remember I felt like I was abandoning my family because I felt like this was the first time that my family is going through a catastrophic moment in our lives.
Exactly.
And I was going to go off to college, you know, and I was going to leave my little brother and my little sister there with my mom to like take care of all this stuff. And I remember my first semester at Hastings calling my mom numerous times per week and she's just being like, this isn't for me. Like I'm quitting football. Like during 2 days, I would tell Alex Romero, I'd be like, bro, I'm ready to quit. I'm ready to quit. And for whatever reason, man, whatever that grit, whatever that fortitude was for me to stick it out, I did.
Hallelujah.
And now looking, you know, 10 years later, I'm an instructor at the same.
That's crazy.
And like, I was making some dumbass mistakes, like some dumbass choices when I was an 18, 19-year-old kid, you know, but fast forwarding 10 years, you know, into the future, right? In 2010, when I got there to 2011 to 2021 now, but so it's just really cool to kind of see that growth in yourself, but it wasn't picture perfect, you know. So in terms of like my goals, like I did not have anything. Like I wanted to make it. My mom was like, "You need to make it one semester, then you can make a decision."
No.
So
Freshman year, that was one of your biggest obstacles at that point.
Huge, bro, because I had to learn how to be independent. I couldn't call pops and have a grown man conversation with like, this shit ain't for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had to learn for the first time.
And
like
that's valid too.
I like cheated my whole way through high school. You know what I mean? Like
Facts.
I remember when I had to take the ACT for the first time and I was like 6 feet away, like before social distancing was a thing. I was actually 6 feet away where I couldn't see the answers on anybody's sheet. And I'm like, oh, here we go. 17. Then I got an 18. I got an 18. You know, my mom's like, you need an 18 to get in.
It took me,
say no more.
I got a 16, took it again, ended up with 18. But the whole time I'm like, I should have paid attention in class.
Yep.
But it seemed like it's all based on time too, on how fast you do it. But I'm like, I'm not that kind of learner.
Me either.
They say you're a microwave thinker and reactor, or you're a slow cooker. I'm a slow cooker.
I need my shit to marinate. So yeah, man, I didn't have a lot of goals. I just picked education because everybody be like, oh, you'd be a good coach. You'd be a good teacher.
Yep.
So I just was going off what other people saw in me, you know?
That's how I started, because I couldn't go to college right away. So the whole time I'm like, got to help the family. I still don't know what to do, but these are the things that I've learned throughout that time of, I need to meditate, take care of myself so I can be the best self, and then I can give that to my family instead of just give when I have nothing. Yeah,
there's an art to balancing family and self.
Yes.
Right. And being able to say like, because I am nothing, you know, I'm nothing without my family, but I'm also nothing without myself.
Exactly.
There's the example of if you have a pitcher, you know, a pitcher full of water, and you got all these other cups. You got your family, you got your friends, a fiance, now a significant other, your work, and you just keep pouring your pitcher into everybody else's glass and trying to fill them up, and then you can look back at the end of the day and there's nothing there. You know, finding that balance of taking some time for myself and to be in that solitude to say like, what's going really well in my life? What are the things I'm kind of struggling with? You know what I mean?
Yes.
So that's the analogy I like. I learned that in my multicultural education class.
That's beautiful.
So yeah, it was just like a perfect analogy. Like if you just keep pouring in everybody else's cup, if you look a week, a month, a year, 5 years and you do that, I think that's something my mom is struggling with. She was a caregiver for 8 years.
Exactly.
And now she has this time to herself and she doesn't like really know what to do with it. She doesn't understand that it's okay to just be herself and to like take care of herself, you know?
And like, she's been like, she's a selfless being. Shout out to Danny, man.
Yeah.
But
she's
it's like,
a warrior, man.
She is like, that's why I'm always like, wow, if I'm going through hardships, I'm like, I think of like all the role models and the people that I have in my circle. I'm thinking of how would they be in this situation? What would they tell me if they were standing next to me right now? What are some advice? It's just mostly like pushing through. We can't like, Michaela would say, it is what it is.
Always.
So we just have to take it by the moment, by the day. Man, that's tough. Because like, especially with that the cup analogy, when you do so much, it makes sense why it feels like you're drained out. Like I can only do so much. I have nothing in my tank. I can't even do things that I used to like to do for myself.
Like something as simple as like reading or like or journaling or just, you know, all you want to do is just like lay in bed, you know, like even just going to train or work out, like that even in itself at its basic, you know, fundamental needs of just like basic hygiene, basic, you know, physical activity just seems arbitrary.
Daunting,
like excuse me. And just, you don't want to do it. And and that's why that cup analogy, you got to save a little bit for yourself. And I feel like once you save some more from yourself, you're actually able to offer more.
Yes.
Because you have that inner fulfillment, that self-fulfillment.
Exactly.
Excuse me.
Go ahead. So, so we're talking about the struggling of like the mental, emotional aspect your freshman year.
Yep.
What were some things that you learned at being a college athlete doing sports? What were some of the things that you still practice to this day that you learned from like football?
So
being a dog is just like
no, but I think when I talk to prospective students now who are like seniors in high school and they want to come play college, one of the questions I get all the time is like, what is it like to be a college athlete? You know, a student athlete.
Yep.
And I look them dead in their eyes and I'm like, it's a full-time job. Like don't get it. And it's, you know, overtime, you know, you're doing 50 hours a week. And at the NAI level, there is no like compliance, the NCAA compliance, you know, where they have to do so many hours in the weight room, so many hours at practice. They're on a time slot. Like they cannot exceed so many hours per week for football. At the NAI level, there is no rules. So it is a full-time gig.
That's, oh my God.
Yeah. And so mentally it's just, you know, physically when I was talking to Alex, when he went to basic training for the Marine Corps, he said 2-a-days was actually physically harder our freshman year than what he went through in basic training. Dang. Now the mental side was a little bit, you know,
they try and break you down.
In the Marine Corps, I wouldn't know, but like, you know, but that it's just like that mental, you just want to quit. I want to quit. I want to quit. I want to quit. I want to quit. And then, and some people do, man. And like, I'm not saying, you know, I'm not here to like bash on people who didn't make it out.
Sorry about, we had to take a little break, but yeah. So there was a lot of people that just quit during the time, and it's understandable.
Yeah.
Give people like kind of a scope on like a day-to-day, like what the schedule would be as a college athlete.
Yep. So at Hastings, and it's going to be different for every school. You know, Sundays are usually our post game. You know, we would come in 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock to, you know, do training room, kind of get treatment for bumps, bruises, scrapes, injuries. Man, I got a little scratch in my throat. It's not COVID. I already had COVID.
You did?
Yeah, I was down bad. So 12 o'clock treatment, you know, we'd go watch film at 1 o'clock. We'd get a light lift in at like 2 o'clock. We'd go back and kind of do like a game prep for the week prior or for the coming week.
Yep.
And then we'd be done for Sunday. Monday, practice, like light practice, just kind of like a TTO practice, just in helmets, just kind of working the kinks out. Tuesday, we'd lift at 6 a.m. And then you go to class. So like during 2 days, it's real sweet, you know, like, man, I'm playing football. I'm meeting all these cool dudes from California, from Houston, from, you know, Arizona. And then all of a sudden school starts up and you're like, oh, I got to go to 3 classes today.
Yeah. And then I come back.
I go to class all day with, you know, a couple breaks in between. And that's where you catch up on your sleep.
Yeah.
Take a little nap in the middle of the day. And so time management was something I had to learn real quick.
That's good.
And then 3 o'clock meetings, 4 o'clock practice, dinner at 6:30, 7 o'clock, repeat for 12 weeks.
Oh my God. So if that's something that you want to do, these are the things that you have to be aware of.
And football's a little different because you play every Saturday.
Exactly.
Like women's basketball, like they play on Wednesday nights, Friday, Saturday.
Yep.
And so I'm like, man, y'all are, and so they might travel up to Sioux City to play Morningside
exactly.
And then be expected to be in class on Thursday. You know, get back at 1 a.m., class at 8. Like it's a grind, man.
Yeah.
But I also believe that that's where you build fortitude.
Exactly.
You know?
This is how you not separate yourself in an egotistical way, but it's like separating yourself from your past self and on like, okay, this is what I need to do to be a better Tut or a better Casey.
Right. You look back, you know, I look back on those early morning lifting sessions. There would be times where we'd have 5:30 a.m. practice on like Wednesdays. Ooh. Dude, you want to talk about how iron sharpens iron as man sharpens man. Like you had to rely on your teammates. If you didn't bring it at 5:30 in the morning, you were gonna get popped in the mouth.
Yeah.
And so our coaches set it up like we would do like our stretch and flex, like kind of our dynamic warm up.
Yep.
At 5:45, we was going goal line, best on best to wake your ass up, And so there was
Good morning.
Yeah, and there would be some people who would kind of just go through the motion and get their ass popped on the 2-yard line and fumble the ball, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm not going to call nobody out, but we remember one play, somebody got lit up. So
no names.
Yeah, no name dropping. That's old Casey.
Oh, snap. Okay. So you're an instructor. What are some of what were some of your favorite classes that you thought you wouldn't learn anything from, but has helped you as a person now?
All right, 2 classes. Physics. I took physics I think it was my senior year. I took a full year of physics because I thought I wanted to be a PT or a physical therapist.
Okay.
So I needed a year of physics to get into graduate school. And physics humbled me real quick, man.
It humbled me in high school, bro.
Dude.
I can only imagine.
But I had an awesome professor, Dr. Jim Dugan. What's his name? He just
Mr. Dugan.
Yeah, he just retired a couple years ago. But he taught me how to like really learn. He would do like these massive equations in physics, and he would derive them and break them all down. And we would do examples in class. And it was like the first time I really struggled. And it was there's an example of the advantage of adversity.
Yes.
Like, dude, I struggled in that class, and it taught me how to advocate for myself.
Ooh, I like that.
Jess Osterhaus, who's now Jess Fruchtel, like her, Cesar Tino, they like really helped me get through that class. Like they would help me study. They would be like, all right, bro, this is how you
accountability partners.
They were like the OG accountability partners and I had one of those for physics. I had one of those for chemistry. Miss Laura Hurley helped me get through chemistry, and she works at the school now at Hastings, and we laugh about it all the time. Like I would have failed chemistry without you, but so physics was a good one. And then I took multicultural ed so I had a year of eligibility left after I broke my leg. So I went into the master's program after I just walked with my bachelor's, and I took multicultural education with Lisa Smith, and I took it with my 2 best friends, Steven and Taj. Yeah. And so it was already cool. Like when you have some boys, in the class, like it's going to be fun regardless.
You can look forward to class.
We'll take a first aid class and we'll make that shit fun. So it was me, Taj, and Buddha, and dude, it was the first time we got exposed to having like real articulate conversations, and we learned how to become free thinkers.
If you would like for Casey to speak at your staff meeting, school meeting, or college, please send him an email to cmalafua@hastings.edu. cmalafua@hastings.edu. He's done multiple speaking events at Hastings College and a couple of self-organized speeches. His topics range from self-improvement, journaling, practicality, meditation, perseverance, voluntary hardship, and many more. Please be sure to check out his webinar he gave recently at Hastings College on YouTube. Just search Casey Malafua. That is Casey Malafua, the owner of YOUVsYOU. Thank you. Thank you to our sponsor. Sorry, Casey, as you were saying.
No, so we learned how to become free thinkers for the first time, and it was Lisa who kind of like challenged us to really challenge the status quo of what it means to be an educator, and she just got us exposed to just like different reading materials. And I remember sitting, and she had this rocking chair in her. It was kind of like this place, man. This is how like her office is, like a lot of plants, really dim lighting. Yeah, it was just an awesome vibe. So I just go in there and just like sit on her rocking chair. And one day she asked me, she was like, in the middle of my season, she's like, your eligibility runs out in 5 weeks. She was like, you are so much more than a football player. Damn. But it's up to you to like really figure it out. And I was like, I think I want to be a teacher. Yeah. And so that was like kind of that catalyst moment where I was like, man, my time clock is running out. Like my eligibility clock is running out. I need to dig deeper into something else. And I'm kind of good at teaching.
Yes.
And so I got in front of the classroom a couple more times. I got to, because every basically every education class you take at Hastings, you have to be like in the classrooms, which is one of the reasons why I love Hastings education program because it's sink or swim from the get go.
Oh,
like
I like that.
Your first class you take, you're doing 25 hours and it's mostly observing, but like you don't ever really just observe.
Of
right?
course. You want to be involved.
Engaged, right? So physics and multicultural ed with Lisa. And then it was just like looking at it now as an instructor and as at Hastings, some of my favorite teachers were the ones who engaged me in the learning.
Exactly.
Miss Patty Kingsley, I struggled in my ethics class. But she was like not a test taker, or she didn't give tests. She like really wanted to do like critical thinking, like presentations, like here's a problem, create a solution and present it to the class.
I like that.
And Coach Jim Bovey, who's a baseball coach, he's the registrar. He's part of the registrar's office now. But just how interactive he was with the students, he like made us laugh, and he made statistics really fun.
Yeah, make it lighthearted.
Yeah, man.
Not
so
super serious because it's already a serious topic. Yeah. That's what's up.
So there's an art to teaching, man. There's an art form to teaching.
How did you feel when you first started teaching versus now? Is it more of like, are you not sure of what you said? Sometimes when I speak, I'm like, did that even make any sense? As I'm speaking it out, I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. But do you guys get what I'm saying?
I always have to clarify, like, because it makes sense in my head.
Yeah.
But there again is like the art of coaching. Me and Tanner talk about this all the time, is like, if you're coaching somebody on the squat and you give them a cue that doesn't work for them, you need to figure out a new cue to portray and communicate the error that you see. It's error detection and correction. You see an error, you're trying to correct that error.
Yes.
And if you communicate a coaching cue to them and they don't get it, you better have a couple more cues to figure it out. Same thing with teaching, bro. If I'm teaching a concept in my motor learning class about gross versus fine motor skills, which is, a pretty basic example, but if it doesn't click, I better have an analogy like the pouring of the cup.
Yes.
That's the creativity of teaching, is being able to create these analogies, create these mental models for the students,
I like that.
And engage them in something. I'm not a person who's going to sit up there and lecture for an hour and 20 minutes.
That's boring itself.
So
what are some of the problems that you saw in some of your college classes and that were lacking, and what did you do to implement that into your lectures?
Well, yeah, we kind of talked about it already. Just from a simple like butts and seats for an hour and 20 minutes is one way of learning.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to say this. There are some classes that you have to just straight up lecture, and it's just like informational overload, right? Some bio classes, like, man, it's just sitting down and like memorizing the bones of the body, the joints of the body. Like chemistry, when it like came to like stoichiometry, just takes repetition. It's really hard. That's why I struggled with chemistry so much, was because everything was at this microscopic level that I could not engage with. It was so small that I couldn't like fathom, protons and neutrons and electrons. Where it comes to like maybe like anatomy and physiology class, like I can see my ulna and see my radius. It's like, okay, this is what happens when I internally, externally rotate these things. So I think the biggest pattern that I saw that I'm trying to introduce into my classroom is just an overall engagement and interaction, which comes, so my master's is a master's of art and teaching. It's not a master's of education.
Okay.
So a master's of art and teaching is like being able to engage and create an authentic environment for these kids to learn in something other than just lecturing.
I like that.
I'll have to send you this cool diagram that I hang in my office, and it just comes down, it talks, it's just like a pyramid at the top. It has like, just like straight up like auditorial, like lecturing. There's like a 5%, like learning gap there. And as it goes down, it shows like different, like, visual, kinesthetic. And then at the very bottom is, letting the learner teach others. And that's when we learn the most.
Exactly.
Right? Was when you kind of grasp a concept and then you have to go teach it to somebody else. That's what Lisa Smith did in the multicultural ed class. Was we would talk about these kind of controversial topics, and we would articulate our own thoughts. We'd read an article on it, articulate our own thoughts, then go out into the actual school and host these conversations and ask and be kind of the ambassadors for critical thinking almost,
because that's like a lost art. Because my internship, we are in Nebraska. We had different people from different sections of communities. So it could be a trans person, it could be an immigrant and a refugee, a person who's coming from Colombia. So when we came together, we all have these different viewpoints, perspectives, but what we honed in on was empathy, listening to understand, and the importance of communicating in an effective way.
Man, communication.
It's an art.
So one of my clients, he's a non-traditional student. He's like a 45-year-old health systems major. So he's kind of, non-traditional. He told me a quote, and I might misquote this, but he says, the biggest misconception of communication is to think that it was like understood,
yes,
or to think that it was achieved or accomplished, right? Mm-hmm. The biggest misconception of communication was to think that it was accomplished, because when I say something to you, like we just talked about, it might make sense, make sense in my head, but it doesn't make sense to Tut. Exactly. It doesn't make sense to my 26 students. And that's why I'm trying to create this environment in my classroom where it's like, if something doesn't make sense, please
say something.
Yeah. And so,
and don't be afraid.
Yeah, because I was that student who was like,
wait, what?
This shit ain't clicking. Yeah. But I'm not about to raise my hand and look like an idiot.
Yeah.
But what I found out,
vulnerability, right?
What I found out through like a little bit of repetition was, I wasn't the only one who had questions.
Exactly. Everybody's kind of like looking around like
this motherfucker talking about right here, bro. And finally I would just like raise my hand and like, this might be a stupid question. And I always say like, there's no such thing as a stupid question, but there's such thing as a stupid asker. And so I was like, you know what? I'll be the stupid asker. I'm like, can you give us another example? And somebody else was like, yeah. And I'm like, so nobody else has the guts to stand up and say something.
Exactly. Because nobody wants to have the feeling of, I don't know what is going on, but it's not like you're always the only one. There's always a couple of people, and they're afraid to speak out.
Being an advocate for your own life, man, is hard.
It is, man.
It's so much easier for a mom, a significant other, a friend to stick up for you.
Yes.
Dude, it's hard to stand up for yourself.
Because it's like when somebody's like, yo, can you come speak for this? But it's like being humble in such a way that I don't even want to talk about myself in a certain way because like I like to be an advocate for myself, but I don't want to put myself on some sort of pedestal or anything like that.
Right. It's like it's like this egotistical thing where it's
like I don't want to seem that way.
Right.
So I'm gonna like
right.
So if somebody speaks for me, I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to be this guy who's just like shoving your ideas and philosophies down everyone's throat, but it's like, I also know that if shit don't make sense, I better ask if I want to get out what I paid for, or what I'm paying, what I'm currently paying for. Like in terms of when I was a student, I learned that in my 5th year of school, like my first 4 years of my undergraduate, I never asked those questions. Yeah. It wasn't until I was a master's student I was like, man, I've been wasting 5 minutes or 5 years of money. Like, I better be asking some damn questions or I'm not going to get out what I paid for. So
I know what I messed up on.
Be an advocate for your own learning.
Yes.
In your own life.
I'm going to put that be an advocate for your own learning. Okay. So as an educator, it's helped you become a better public speaker. Yeah. So if someone were to start doing the public speaking, this is something that they've been practicing on the side or wanting to do as like another, not a hustle, but another way of expressing yourself, wanting to help people. What are some key factors that are at play that you need to be aware of? In the aspect of like, if I do want to public speak, do I need to kind of write things out and then kind of flow with it? Or do I need to memorize it word for word?
See, I think everybody's different, man. And so like, I haven't been doing this long enough to really like give some like tips and tricks, but the way I do it, all starts longhand free, right?
Yeah.
So I try not to type anything yet. So I was sitting at Blue Moon coffee shop the other day, and I literally just wrote on napkins because I was
good handwriting.
I was thinking about this presentation I was going to give on the 9th at Tanner's Gym. And I wanted to be in solitude, but I didn't want to have any of my electronics because you know how easy it is, like when you take notes on like a Google Doc, to just like open up Facebook, open up Instagram, open up YouTube.
Yep.
So I was like, okay, I'm going to leave all my electronics at the in my car, and I was like, I'm gonna bring a pen, and I brought a notebook, and I was like, I forgot my notebook at my office, and so I was writing on these napkins, and then the barista came by, he was like, do you need a piece of paper? And I was like, nah, I'm good, you know. So like I freehand or longhand all of my like thoughts, and then I look for patterns. That's like
I like that.
what the more, you know, I journal 4 or 5 times a week. I look for patterns that I'm currently like writing about. I know you said you wanted to kind of get into like my journaling, but I just, the 3 things that I start with, I'm like really trying to, you know, struggle to find something to write about. I say, what are 3 things I'm grateful for? What are the 3 things I'm struggling with the most? What are my ideas? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, like I'll get to the things that I'm struggling with, and it will just take me
train of thought.
Yeah. Cause you want to, if you're going to be a speaker, you want something that's authentic, something, and I'm not saying I'm the first person who's ever motivational spoke, right? Yeah. It's just your tie on it. And that's how I define leadership is, you know, is
putting your spin to it.
Yeah.
You said it really well yesterday. Leadership is no, I forgot how you said it, but it was beautifully put.
Yeah, comprehend it. What did I say?
It was more of like leadership is not just like
what was the
not kind of the rah, but more of like bringing your kind of flavor.
Do you remember the analogy I used? No minions, no robots. Right.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So like if somebody already has a framework that's set up, that's awesome. And that's why I love reading.
Yes.
Because I'll read this person's framework on self-help and be like, damn, that's a cool little nugget. I'm just not the type of person just to like mimic it. I want to be like, okay, this little habit, this little ritual is really cool. How does that apply to my life?
Exactly. How can I wiggle? Yeah.
Because the person,
David Goggins,
David Goggins, or you know, Robin Sharma, he did the 5 a.m. club. Like, this is his framework, and that worked for Robin Sharma's life.
Exactly.
That worked for Tony Robbins' life.
Exactly.
That worked for E.T.'s life. But E.T. don't live the same life that I do.
Fact.
So I know that there's value in what he says because clearly he came from something, but that's not Casey Molifua.
Exactly.
And so what I try to do is, and that's the first question I ask myself. That's the question that's on my mirror the most. That's the question that's on my computer screen the most, is like, who is Casey Molifua?
Yes.
Because the more and more I think about that question, the more and more I like realize and say, how does this apply to Casey Molifua? Who is Casey Molifua? Yes. What does Casey Molifua live through and have to offer? So when it comes to speaking, I think you gotta, you know, I guess my 2 things is to read and write, bro. Like
it really comes to those barbaric ways, because like there's a feeling that comes when you write things out versus typing it out. I feel like I retain it because I'm literally writing it and I'm reading it at the same time.
So when you read, like I just said, is like you're reading this, and I'm really trying to get into fiction reading because like I'm always like leadership, self-help. And I read a couple fables that are Robin Sharma's 5 a.m. club is kind of like a fable. It has like a parable spin on it. Yeah. And so I really like that. And so I'm trying to get into that because fiction can kind of spark that creativity a little bit too. So I'm trying to get in, but like as I read, it's like, man, I have like these thoughts, you know, like have you ever been reading and you're like, man, I've reread this 6 times now.
Yes.
It's because your mind is trying to make a connection to something, some other like arbitrary phenomenon. And that's why I write in all of my books, and some people think it's a sin, but I'll write in the margins and be like, just write the one word that comes to mind, like vulnerability or community wellness or community, you know, just whatever pattern I'm thinking of, whatever that core word is. That's what you know what do you know? I like that. So I can go back. Exactly. I learned this from Jake Hamburger, just like a good buddy of mine. He always talks about when he reads, he'll read a chapter and he'll like make notes in the margins, and he'll go back and just read his notes in the margins to find the overarching
and then connect it within your nerves.
So then you finish a book and there's like, here's the 6 patterns that I learned from the book. Okay, you have you know, work ethic, reflection, and organization, right? Those are the 3 words. Like, okay, how do I take these three patterns and make them my own? What do these 3 words like really mean to me? And so I don't know, man. I think it's just a craft. It's a craft that you hone over time.
It is,
and it's like I've been like seriously journaling really for only like 3 years. I just read Matthew McConaughey's book, Green Lights, which I would highly recommend to anybody.
Green Lights. I'm gonna put that up because I also want to read it too. I've heard about it.
Yeah, like if you really want to get into like journaling and you know, and really like becoming a writer. Like that's one of my like big goals now is like to become a writer. I think,
You versus You book coming
yeah.
soon?
Oh man. The amount of,
Or in that kind of aspect.
yeah.
That'd be dope, man.
So all, what is the quote? It's like all readers aren't leaders, but all leaders are readers.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
So-
It makes a lot of sense. So since we're already kind of talking about journaling and how it kind of like helps you stay not organized in your brain, but help you become organized in a sense of I need to get this out. This is a healthy way of going about it. So what are some tips for a person who's struggling to get organized? Is journaling a way of doing it? Getting up at a certain time, or what?
It's just like overall like life organization.
Yeah, just life organization.
For me, again, I have no research to back this.
This is Casey Molly Food
experience, right?
Yeah.
Is I if on a work day, Monday through Friday, I have a daily post-it note that I have. I split it into like quadrants. So in the top left quadrants are like my non-negotiables. So this year last year I did 100 push-ups a day. So, and this year
100 push-ups a day. How'd you break that up?
100.
Straight up.
Yeah, I would do like 2 sets of 50, 4 sets of 20.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, you just did
I never got to 100 straight. The most I ever did was like 89. And I was like, you know, so this year I'm going to do 100 core movements a day. But each month I'm going to add 10. So I'm like 110, 120. Okay. So like some of my non-negotiables are like 100 core movements, just 10 minutes of stretching. When I do
that more.
When I do 10 minutes of stretching, it really leads to like 20 minutes of stretching. 10 minutes of reading. Tell my fiance that I love her. Like intentionally tell her that I love her. And what's my fifth one? I wish I had my.
You had a. Does this help at all? All I know is yesterday you said something about 11 minutes, or if it takes like less than 10 or
No,
not,
so
not 11 minutes.
I
11
have
seconds.
2 rules, two habits, 2 rituals. Is first ritual is the 11-minute alarm.
Yeah.
So like just set a alarm for 11 minutes to read, to meditate, to go for a walk, and it always turns into more. And then if it takes less than 2 minutes, just do the. So if it's like doing the dishes for your lady, or you know for yourselves, but. We're talking about journaling.
Yeah,
kind of. We always do this.
Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah, we just get on these tangents.
We can do it. It's our own podcast.
Yeah, there are no rules.
There are no rules. But yeah, staying organized with us in the essence of.
Yep. So I start with that, the post-it note. I break it up into that quadrant. What are your non-negotiables?
Yep.
What are the things that you have to get done every single day? Because habits equal results. And so, and then it just comes down to the nitty gritty. Like I have to grade X assignment. I have to meet with Professor Dinan at 11 o'clock. I need to boom, 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 boom. And no fast food. That was my other New Year's resolution. I've given it up before and I was like, all right, I need to do this again. It was my non-negotiable. So then that's for me, it works. I think every time I get to cross something out, I kind of just get this little
a rush,
this little drop
clear.
This little drop of dopamine, like, and and then it's like the snowball effect where it's like now I'm just scratching shit off, and it's not like I'm just kind of like surfing the web and scrolling on Instagram and you know and getting kind of like lost in social media.
Yes.
So that's what helps me is just a daily post-it note, and then being able to have like weekly goals of. Hey, I want to, sit down and read for an hour 3 times a week. I want to sit down and write intentionally 3 times a week.
That's what I've learned from my therapist, because I was telling her all the things I had to do, whether it be, you gotta make a video to help people with YOUvsYOU, or I need to give Haley time, I need to do my homework, I need to talk to my mom, I need to call my grandparents, I need to send money, I need to do this. I told her all about YOUvsYOU and the pillars that stand for it. She's like, you need to remember what you're preaching. You need to
hardest part. Yeah, go ahead.
Focus on yourself, not in the egotistical way, but you're burning yourself out. And what's a way that you can get out of that is staying organized on like you were saying, these are the non-negotiables. So, yeah, that reminds me of a thing that I was just writing about during Christmas break. Was don't lose sight of what you're
don't forget to practice what you are preaching to help people. I mean, that's what we're doing at our core is serving, right? We're serving others because we want other people to feel this sort of self-improvement, this ownership of your life. But sometimes we get lost in like the X's and O's and the dollar signs sometimes. And that's something that I have to bring myself down, because if I can do it, I should be able to do that, what I did yesterday, for free and still feel the same fulfillment. I had that little donation bucket, in the middle of Tanner's gym. I was actually more excited to read the feedback cards than I was collecting the $10 at the door, because the gold, the learning moments was on those cards. I should have went longer, bro. I don't know why I felt like 60 minutes. I was like, I don't want to waste people's time.
Bro, but I was like, why? Like that's one thing I should have said too. Like, I felt like this should be like a 2 hour
workshop.
2 hour cap. Because like another thing my speaking coach said, she's like, especially with like us coming up from nothing, she's like, there's this thing that we have about money, right? She's like, how we think it's bad, but we're basing it off of the people who don't have the best intentions with money.
See,
like, I'm trying to get money so I can give back.
Yeah.
So she's like, don't feel bad when you asking, because it's your time, you're giving value, your story, so you just need to be compensated for it. It's not like you're asking for hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Right. When Tanner was kind of helping me set up, because he let me use the gym yesterday, and he goes, what are you going to charge people at the door? And I was like, I don't know, $5. He's like, an hour of your time is worth $5.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I was like, damn. All right, 10. And he's like, 10? $10 for 60 minutes of your time. Everybody got a journal. Everybody got a pen. Yep. Everybody got the worksheets, like $10.
Yeah.
And so now, so like 5 years down the road, the way I envision it in my mind is like, how was I only charging $10?
Exactly.
Knowing your worth is very, very important.
That's what you have to tell them.
Knowing your worth at the beginning too is like, man, honestly, I would do that for free just to get my message out. Yep. The monetary stuff will come.
It'll come.
We didn't grow up with nothing.
Nothing.
And I made it out just fine.
Yep.
I don't need anything now, bro. Like, yes, I have more responsibilities and more like, bills that come on the first of every month, but that money will come, man. It's the same thing I do with like my clients with my training. Like, hey, I'm not gonna be able to pay you for another week. Like, is that okay? Like, what's important for me is that you're coming in here and getting stronger. Exactly. Not the money you're putting into my pocket.
Yeah, don't worry about that, especially when you're like during your lift or whatever.
Yeah, like I want you to squat and deadlift because it's good for your body and it's even better for your mind.
Exactly.
So,
but on the aspect of like charging people for time, it's always like we have to figuratively eat shit when we start, right? We're trying to do these things for free. We're getting the reps in. So once we get to that spot where we're doing an actual seminar or this company wants to fly south for their conference, we got some experience and they're willing to pay that and they trust us and they think that we're going to bring value. That's when it's like, okay, I've made something of myself. I've done something to help people more.
I was just talking to my buddy Jake on the phone. We usually get together like every other Thursday, and he was saying like when it, 5 or 6 years down the road or whenever that time comes, is like then you have a family and you have kids, and it's like when you put your price out there and say like, hey, I'm worth $1,000 an hour, and I have 6 dates, make the 6 dates work, because the priority isn't me making money on the you versus you or the YOUvsYOU stuff. The priority is being there for my family. Exactly. Those become the non-negotiables.
Exactly.
Okay, and so
she literally broke it down to me just in that kind of sense. It's like, so let's say you get to this point.
If you really want me, you're gonna pay me.
And this is what I offer. Hour of my time. This is what I'm gonna bring. This presentation. $1,000 for my time. I do that 6 times a month. Literally an hour. So 6 hours total for that month, and I get to spend a lot of time with my children, or my family.
Buying
time. We're literally just buying time in that aspect, and we're giving value in exchange.
What you just said there reminds me. I was talking to Mark the other day. Shout out to Marker 50.
Marker 50.
And we were talking. He was like, sometimes at the premise of our conversation, like the pattern of our conversation was like, don't count your time, make your time count.
Oh, I love that.
You know what I mean? Like you could be in the gym. That's the example you were giving. Like you could be in the gym for 4 hours and be like, yeah, I just got a 4 hour workout in. Like, what the fuck were you doing for 4 hours, bro? My fault. I don't know if I'm
supposed to. It's okay. It's okay.
You know, but you could get a crush, like a killer sweat in 30 minutes,
Yes.
you know, like.
And it hurts.
Yeah, bro. Like, don't count. And that actually comes from a football reference. I think it might have been Coach Dave Kamara. He always said, don't count your reps, make your reps count. If you only get 3 reps and all 3 reps are on kickoff, you better make those 3 kickoffs. I
swear.
And if it's a touchback every time, you better be the first one to the goal line.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And I think that's a mentality of like a special teams player. You kind of talked about what are some of the lessons you learned from football.
Yep.
It's like, bro, you may only get 7 reps.
But you better make them count.
You better make them count, bro. Yep. Because the eye in the sky don't lie. That film...
I swear, you aloof?
Yeah. Or like when you look on the play, like, damn, I like took, you know, that last 5 seconds of that play off and I could have saved a first down. So
it's a game of inches at that point.
Don't count your time, make your time count.
All right, let's talk about you versus you.
Yep.
So yesterday, one of your 3 pillars is know yourself, see yourself, and
be yourself.
Be yourself. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
So this is something that you guys can probably do at home. I have a worksheet in front of me, but we'll just we won't do the whole thing, but just give people like a taste of it so they can also do this.
Yeah, you can come to the next workshop.
Exactly. We're trying to give you a little taste.
Yeah, just a little teaser.
But before we start that, we're going to have a word from our sponsors. We'll be right back. Oh, yeah, Casey, we were talking about one of your pillars, know yourself, see yourself, be yourself.
Yes, sir.
So I remember you saying, like, really honing in on who is Casey Malafua, who is blank. So, like, at that point, are we trying to see, like, what do I bring that's different than everybody else? What do you have to offer in this world? Are those most of the questions that we ask ourselves?
Yeah, I think so. Like I kind of talked about, you know, just a little bit ago was like, who is Casey Malafua? For the longest time, I was trying to be somebody who I wasn't.
Yes.
And so that first question, that's why it's the first question on that list is because like, who is, you know, fill in the blank? Because, you know, regardless of if you believe in, you know, a higher power, but like, I feel like we were put on this earth to be ourselves, man. And I think right now, especially like being a parent right now would be like one of the hardest things in the world. Easy. And so to raise a child to like be themselves, be uniquely themselves, like I just think would be one of the hardest things in the world. And I know from my own failures, like I was trying to be somebody who I wasn't, man. Like even like when I was in college, like don't get me wrong, man. I love to have a good time, but I was like numbing myself and just like trying to fit in by just like being the most drunk person at the party, you know, like just being like the craziest, because that's what I thought.
Totally understand.
That's what I thought people wanted from Casey Malafua.
Exactly. They want you to be the life of the party. Like this is what we know you of. So you kind of like keeping up with it, and now you get lost in the sauce. Yeah.
Sometimes you can get, bro. When I listened to that Gucci interview, like that hit so home, bro. He's like, because you can get lost in the sauce, bro, and it's like, I don't know what it's like to be famous, but I feel like that's like the same thing, you know. It's like, don't get caught up in forgetting don't forget to practice what you preach. Yep. And so like these constant reflection questions that I do all the time, that I have at the top of the sheet are questions that I try to do, you know, once a quarter, every quarter, just breaking down, you know, like who is Casey Malafua? What makes Casey Malafua unique? This third question is, what are the 5 things that you enjoy about yourself? Is a hard question to answer, bro.
It is.
Sometimes we are so hard on our damn selves that we forget that we bring value to the world.
You are your greatest enemy.
Yeah, you are your greatest ally. You are your greatest enemy. So,
if you guys have time, take a minute.
Bro, put these questions in the...
I was going to put that up.
I don't care. Yeah, put them in there, and just have people... If I could, you know, advise you to do something is to answer these questions, because if you want to really start journaling, I think that these first 4 questions,
we'll get the ball rolling,
man, and it'd be like, man, I am special, you know, like I am, you know, capable of offering something to this world that's unique, you know.
And so that's why I think yesterday should have been like a 2-hour cap because it gives us a little bit more time.
I was eating myself up alive last night. Like,
because you were like, oh, we gotta finish this up. We got 30 more seconds. I'm like, this was awesome moment. But that's what happens. At least you got it. You got it on the calendar.
It's a
this
soft,
is what I want to do.
It's a soft opening, right? It's like when you open a new restaurant, you just let family and friends in.
Yep.
The next time I do it, I'm putting on the calendar or like the flyer 2 to 12 or 12 to 2 p.m.
Yes.
2-hour workshop, because the Q&A is actually where
that's all the bread and butter.
Because that's what Tanner said. He was like, bro, I paid to hear you talk. He's like, I thought the interaction was awesome. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but I came here for
He was like, you should have ended with a 30-minute Q&A so people could just pick your brain for 30 minutes. And I was like, damn, I can't wait to do this shit again,
that's why
bro.
one of my favorite guys is Gary Vee. He gives like, all right, these are things, but I'm really here for the Q&A. I'm not always going to be here, so please don't be afraid. Ask what you want to ask.
Dog, so you asked me about my teaching, my philosophy. Every time I get a new class, so Hastings is on a new block system, so every 7 weeks I get a new course or I get a new class. I always do a get to know you activity where they just answer like, who's the person you look up to the most? Just like these, kind of like your rapid fire questions.
Yep.
Okay. So I do that at the end, at the bottom. The last question is, what is something you want to know about your instructor, Casey Molifua? Okay. And I tell them, like, I have a little caveat, a little asterisk, like, you can ask me whatever you want to. Yeah. Like, I'm an open book. Yeah. I call it the firing squad. Yeah. And once the first person asks the question, like, and it could be just a shot, like, how much you bench, like, it's always the, like the facade questions, like just like the quick ones. And then it was like, excuse me, how did you get over the death of your sister? Yeah. And then it's like, then bro, I look at all 26 eyes and they're like,
yep. Because now
it's an authentic question.
That vulnerable question. Yeah. As a human being.
If I can practice that and show them that it's okay to do that, they might not do it the very next day.
But it's planted the seed.
But they're like, man, maybe this isn't as hard as I think.
Exactly.
So, and if you can be honest in this, you can be honest like this.
Exactly. Because that's like practice right there that you've already done. Now you have a little bit more confidence to do it out and about. So the things that I said, my 5 things that I enjoy by myself is sense of humor, because life is serious. So there's a lot of times that we actually just need to like have some fun in a sense.
I should, I'll send you the article. I have it saved on my computer. I don't have it, but the amount of times males versus females laugh. Yeah. And like adults. Yeah. It's like polar opposite, bro. Like we don't, especially as men, we do not laugh enough. Bro, when we're together,
it's always laughs.
We just be dying, man. It's so good for my soul,
And joyful, because it's like, all right, when something's going bad or when something's going good, it's just knowing that this is not always going to happen. So I'm joyful and I'm joyous that this is happening, and I'm going to embrace it for all it is. Number 3 that I have is loving. So I try and do whatever I can for the fam and the people that have done insurmountable things for me. Number 4 is being a communicator, because it's very important in articulating what you say, especially for your significant other. Like I told Haley, like I try to stop saying always and never, because those are absolutes. So it's like, you never do this. But it's like, she does. But she takes it, or whenever she says to me, I'm like, babe, I do that. But you said never.
Matthew McConaughey's book, he talks about the word unbelievable. Yeah. He's like, he hates the word unbelievable because it just happened. Oh, that catch was unbelievable. How is that not believable when it just happened? So he's like, living in a world of absolutes. Me and Taj always talk about that. He's like, it's never way too far left. Our go-to saying is like, it's probably somewhere in the middle. Yeah. It's on the spectrum of absolute left, absolute right. Taj, man, just
he's a good dude.
Blazing a Trail podcast, bro.
No, he's gonna be.
Has to be.
I just saw him. He sent me a Snapchat not too long ago.
Okay.
And number 5 is empathetic, because coming from where I come from, it's a lot of adversity, a lot of odds, but I also know that's not the kind of not everybody has those kind of different odds. I don't know what it's like to lose a family member or 2. I don't know what it's like to not to be homeless. I don't know what it's like to not even have a father growing up with. I don't know what it's like to not even have a car to get A to B. Actually, I do. Never mind. I know what it's like, but it's like being empathetic and knowing that everybody has a story, and I don't know the complete, but it's giving that person the benefit of the doubt.
You just said that. How were we in high school and we had 7 friends, one car?
One car.
Hey, shout out to Zach Zorns, bro. We
held it down.
We owe you $1,000 in Casey's General gift card gas. Like Zach Zorns in that big red Avalanche truck and the black Dodge was it a Charger or a Challenger? It was a Moms wouldn't let him get the Challenger.
No.
Okay.
Too dangerous.
Quick note, man, is like anytime I ever talk to somebody on the phone, on like even with a prospective student, I always have a little Post-it note because that's just the way my brain works.
I need to do that more.
I just like a daily. I saw your little black book right there.
Yeah,
perfect, bro.
I need to take that. I have it with me, but I'm like, oh, that was a great moment. But I never think or have the habit to become a ritual to bring it out.
I just tell people like, can you give me a second? You just made me think of something I need to write down.
See, I need to do that more.
I'll be training somebody.
Thank you, Casey.
Yeah, no doubt, bro. No doubt.
That shit. Okay, another thing that you asked was, we'll talk about that later. But so if you guys are more than willing to share, put it down in the comments, and then we'll kind of get back to that. We'll be right back. I need to charge this camera. This podcast episode is brought to you by YOUvsYOU. YOUvsYOU stands for You Are the One. YOUvsYOU was born at the intersection of a lifestyle and fashion. Due to their inspiring collections and customer service, they have been highly successful since day one. YOUvsYOU wanted to sponsor Blazin A Trail podcast because they believe in platforms that give people inspiration, platforms that present stories of adversity, and wanted a podcast that gave practical and applicable ways for any person to achieve their goals. So they have agreed to give a 15% off coupon off your total order by using code BAT, as in the black bird. So use code BAT to get 15% off of your total order. Back to scheduled programming. Once again, we are back. Casey's here for another 10 minutes, so we're going to kind of hustle up.
Yeah, I mean,
because it's 9:20.
Don't count your time. Make your time count, bro.
You're right, brother. So now we're talking about adversity, the advantages to adversity. Because I would say this society, we are society, but it's almost like we want to bubble wrap our kids' experience so they don't have to see life for what it is. Mm-hmm. But they don't know that this adversity will actually help build this kid. They won't see it right away, but they'll learn things from that adversity, being uncomfortable, and be in those situations that it'll build your character. Yeah,
really interesting. All of my friends come from a very interesting upbringing.
Yes.
And like not a reserved, a very sheltered, like all of my friends who are interesting and like the reason why I vibe with them is because they came from like not a shitty upbringing. I shouldn't say that. It's like sounds bad.
It's just
but like
untraditional.
Very untraditional and just like, man, you went through some shit. Like that's why I vibe with you.
Exactly. It's that empathetic standpoint.
Yeah. So
we're gonna ask the listeners, what is the greatest struggle, adversity that you have to overcome? And it doesn't have to be this overarching thing. You can probably go into that. What are some other ways that they can think about that adversity?
Yeah, so the reason why I asked this question is because we all go through something. Like, we're all going to struggle, and we're not special in the fact that, like, I'm the only person who's lost their dad and their sister. I'm not the only person who X, Y, or Z.
I'm not the only refugee. Like,
you know, like, and it's actually egotistical to think about it that way. Like, oh, poor me, I'm the only one going through this.
Victim mentality, man.
No, bro. You are not the only one going through this, you know? But I also know that there's value in understanding your struggle and understanding like what you've come through or what you come from, you know, like growing, you know, I don't know what it's like to come from a, you know, divorced household, you know, like my parents, although I always say this, like we weren't rich in finances. I was rich in love.
Facts.
I come from a family who like love and supported me. And like at times it was tough love, but I always had that home front, that foundation that was perfect. Right. Yes. So it's kind of trying to find the diamond in the rough, you know, the good and the bad, you know, find the good in the world, even when it's not going as well as we want it to.
So after you think about that, now where you are in your life, what are you currently practicing? Something that's difficult or hard, something voluntary?
Yeah, voluntary hardship is what we call that. Is because what we know is like if we, so my whole like thought process behind the advantage of adversity is to flip the narrative on adversity, because when we go through hard things, we actually learn more, right? They,
Yes.
like all the great leaders, they say, you learn more from your failures. Michael Jordan said it best, like, I've missed 10,000 shots in my career. There was 13 times where the game was on the line and I was trusted to take the final shot and I missed.
Exactly.
And that's why I've succeeded.
Exactly.
During adverse times is when we learn the most about ourselves. Like, is where real adaptation of our lives happens.
Yep.
And so if we can volunteer for the hard things in life, it'll prepare us for the unexpected hard times that come.
Exactly.
And that can be from anything from, I'm a strength guy. Like I want people to have a heavy barbell on their back, a heavy bar in their hands, because it's hard. There's nothing that will humble somebody like a heavy set of 5 of deadlifts, right? And if you can volunteer to pick up the 5th deadlift, even when you don't want to, even when it feels like I'm about to start crying, and that I owe that to Tanner, because Tanner really taught me
the grit.
Yeah, that fortitude of grinding on a barbell. And so it doesn't have to be just training, right? It could be, some people like to run. I'm not a runner. Waking up early, taking a cold shower. Tim Ferriss talks about fasting. He talks about fasting a lot, and that's volunteering for something that's hard, not just eating just because that's what we're supposed to do, right? He talks about fasting. You could talk about sleeping on the floor instead of like your nice comfy bed, like, and you don't have to do that.
You don't have to go extreme, but it's just like a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
My boy Dalton told me, he was like, hey man, great presentation. This was when I had the YouTube one. He was at the school. He was like, when you get married, sometimes you have to take cold showers and sleep on the floor involuntarily. So that was funny. Shout out to my boy Seeley, man. That shit was so funny.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I want to thank Tanner for that, especially giving me the time and his energy for pushing me through, especially with the days I didn't want to come, doing the starting strength. Like, I gotta get under this bar and do this up to 3 times for 3 sets.
But again, when we talk about accountability partners, like, misery is company.
Yes.
It's so much. So there again lies, doing it with Tanner and Zach when you were like training hard.
Yes.
It's really nice to have that accountability partner,
and you see
to take it to the next step.
Yeah,
is when you're in the cold garage all by yourself, man. Like,
oh my god!
And those are the training sessions where, like, I don't play any music. When I'm like, I don't want to be here. I should have stayed in bed. It's 4:45 in the morning.
Yeah,
but I know I need to do this.
Exactly, and I'll feel way better after.
Those are where you take leaps and bounds.
Exactly.
So,
because that's what led me afterwards, that voluntary hardship, which what led me to doing intermittent fasting right after I got done with training. Because at the time when I was doing the training, I wasn't eating the best, and I was like, okay, I need to go about this in a healthy way. Now I started doing intermittent fasting. I was like 240 plus at this time. I did that for like 6 months. I'm now at like 210. Now I wanted to do something to make myself go hard and do things that I don't want to do. So I started doing jujitsu.
Bless your heart.
Yeah, now I'm rolling with people who've done this for like months and then years. The only thing that I can bounce back on is how to use the grit and fighting through. This dude has 260 pounds of weight on me, and he's got me on full guard, which is just, he's on top of me. How can I push through and be on the defense and working through that instead of him trying to tap me out? If I didn't learn that from doing the deadlifts or pushing really hard to get this dude off of me, keeping my elbows to my body, trying to push this dude off and using my hips that I've learned from
cleans.
Like, I never would have learned this.
Yeah, being able to that's just like reading, bro.
Exactly.
Like, there's so many different ways of so many different connection points. You have like doing one thing like football. Football was just a vehicle for the lessons that we learned. Using that vehicle to learn the lessons and then applying those lessons to something on the other side of the spectrum.
That's why I tell people, please do things that are out of your comfort zone in a sense, because you'll get a taste of what you want. Like you said yesterday in the thing, you'll get a taste of what you like from doing things you don't like.
Yeah.
Because like
you figure out who you are by doing things that you don't really like, like I know that what's an example? I don't want to give a shitty example.
I don't want to give. Wait, that.
I'll just give Tanner's example. Like he was working for Cedars. He was working as like doing like counseling work, and he was just doing like the training on the side. Yeah. He figured out real quick that the counseling work was not what he wanted to do, but it was. He had to do it in order to get the garage that he wanted to, you know.
Necessary evil.
Yeah. And so like, you don't really know until you do. Mm-hmm. And the more you do, the more you start to understand who is Tet Kal H, who is Casey Moifua, by learning what you are not.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It makes a lot of sense. Okay. So on that aspect too, it's like knowing, like you say, knowing what you want. These are the things that are necessary to get me to the next path. Like you said, it's a vehicle to get to the next thing. So when you're going through that, it's knowing your why. Why am I doing this? I know this is not what I'm going to do for the rest of my life, but I know that it's going to be necessary on my next chapter. So I need to push through.
People don't buy what you do. They buy why you do it.
Exactly. So like when people buy you versus you or YOUvsYOU clothes, they're not doing it. They're doing it to support, but they see the value that we're giving out. Mm-hmm. So they just want to support the movement.
And that's why I always say, like, when people say like, oh, that's a cool brand. Yeah. And I don't really want it to be a brand.
It's a lifestyle.
It's a mindset and a lifestyle. Yeah.
Because like, I don't want, like, that's why I'm starting to go away from the clothes, because my main vision is to have a workplace, like a creative warehouse where people can do these sorts of things, because we've went on the left side, the logical path, the analytical side on life with the help of school. But in order for us to move as a human race, innovation, we need to focus on the creative aspects as well. Mm-hmm. So we want people to tell their stories, because it's going to help other people who are going through those same kind of issues that you went through. So photography, it could be
engineering,
recording music. Yeah. And also just having these meetups with other people, it's what's going to spark the brain.
Yeah, conversation creates opportunity.
Yes.
Right? That's why I think, podcasts are pretty trendy right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think there's a lot of people doing podcasts, but at its core, people are just having conversations.
And it's cathartic because of it. If
people are just having conversations, bro. And that's why I kind of worked my workshop how it was and my seminar how it was.
And I love that.
Because the goal is when you talk to people and you start to learn a little bit more about them, and you're like, oh, I can make a connection to my life.
Exactly.
You're not as different as I thought you were.
Exactly. From the jump, I'm like, who's this? But now that you've become vulnerable and told me about these things, it's like, whoa, that's awesome.
Yeah, there's so many different points of connection. Be like, man, maybe we aren't as different as we look.
Exactly. We're humans at the core. So that's why I want to do like these creative meetups that I'm starting to do with my team, Jack and Nelson. So we're going to have these creative meetups just so we get offline and we start working with each other. So we get offline to get online with others.
I like it, man. I think it's kind of like what Taj wrote on his thing, is like, we need to have more workshops, more intentional environments that are set up, settings for people to go through this with, have a community where it's like an environment where it's safe and it's authentic to create some new authentic experiences, and authentic like thoughts, and like learn how to like critically think again, because we've gotten away from that
because of social media. In a sense, it's like,
it's a good tool, man. I'm not a.
There's a lot more. I feel like there's a lot more benefits, but obviously the negatives outweigh it more visually, because it's like, oh, we're more divisive, but it's like, but we're more connected than we've ever been.
Yeah. But
that gives everybody has the chance and the opportunity to say something.
Yeah, I mean
but a lot of people shouldn't be saying certain things when it pertains to like separating sorts of people.
Yeah.
But there's opportunist type of people out here.
Yeah, I just like everything else in life, man. Like there's a lot of good in it. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of bad in it.
Yes.
And so you have to be able to find how it works for you, bro.
Exactly.
Kind of one of the core tenets is make it work for you. And like I know an hour a day is what I need on social media. Mm-hmm. If I've kind of gotten away from posting a lot just because I get so addicted to like, oh, who's commenting on my shit, who's liking my stuff right now, So I have to be very conscious of how much time I'm spending because I could just spend an hour looking through Instagram
And
reels.
I feel hella bad after.
I know. I could have read 2 chapters.
Yes.
So
It's like, oh, I watched this whole show on Netflix, but why is it so hard for me to do what I said I was going to do earlier this week?
yeah, one of my rituals is to meditate or read before Instagram.
Let's talk about rituals.
Okay.
Because the last pillar is rituals, which equals
results.
yes. So, Casey, what are specific areas in your life that you think that you practice great discipline?
I think the go-to one, man, when people look at me crazy is like I wake up before 6 a.m. Every day. Like on the weekends, it's going to be around like 6:30. Monday through Friday, if like I'm in my calendar or like my work calendar, because I'm a teacher, it's before 5. I have clients who come in at 5 a.m. on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, I like to train before 6 a.m. because it's good for my soul to do something hard like that. I'd be like, oh, I can wait till 2 p.m., you know, like.
But like at that point, it's like now it's really out of the way.
Yeah, you know, and so my biggest ritual, I think, is, you know, that book I read was 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma. I've always been a early bird.
Same.
But it just gave me a framework. Okay, there's that word again, a framework to like really live by the early riser code, because the whole world is sleeping, bro. And I kind of like that mentality of like I'm kind of getting some work. It is egotistical for me. It's like I'm getting a little bit of work in
But it's necessary
when some other people are sleeping.
Exactly.
I'm getting ahead.
Yes.
But I also go to bed at, you know, I call Casey before 8:30 most nights because I like to have like one of my other rituals is to like be off my phone for at least an hour before I go to bed because it's good for me to just like slow down and, you know, not just sit on my phone.
Yeah.
You know,
just
and just
mindlessly scrolling.
Mindless scrolling.
My thing is not really social media, but I mindless scroll on YouTube. But the most of the time when I'm on YouTube, I'm looking at Abba and Preach. Shout out to them. But I watch them do reaction videos, but they're more intellectual. It's like more of like, they're speaking about whether it be the social issues that we're facing or the relationship issues. It's more on that aspect, or I'm watching NBA highlights.
Yeah. I mean, Instagram, YouTube, those, you know, Facebook, they're built for us to stay on them.
Yeah, that's
you know,
we are the product.
And they work.
Yeah.
And they work, but sometimes I got to be like, all right. I'll literally like, it'll be like 7:55 and I'm like, all right, 8 o'clock, I'm done. And it'll be 8 o'clock and be like,
No.
okay, I literally got to get off. I have to get off, you know? So I set those alarms. We're like, all right, you could take 10 minutes to go look on Instagram.
Yes.
So yeah, find your rituals that work for you. And there again is like the perfect example of like, if you have aspirations of being a motivational speaker, if you have aspirations of being an entrepreneur, learn from those people.
Exactly.
Because they're practicing their own habits.
Exactly.
You might be able to learn a habit or two, and then again becomes the art of being your own self-leader is how does that habit that you learned from Gary Vee work for you? So
because like with Gary Vee, everything's concrete and it worked for him, but there's things that I kind of go around and mold in part of my life to make it fit. So also find accountability partners. That's very important.
Yeah, I mean, no one made it to success or happiness or however you define that by themselves.
Exactly. Like we made it through college, but we didn't do it ourselves. Like we did the work, but our mom's helping us through. Like, Mom, can you help me? Let me just vent to you.
Yeah. That's a really interesting topic too, because like the reason why I didn't quit football, bro, was because of my teammates. Like the games, like there's nothing like a Saturday or like a Friday Night Lights. There's nothing like that. But like Monday through Friday sucks, man. But it was my teammates, man. Like I asked my buddy Tori, I was like, you miss football? Because he was a year older than me. I was like, you miss football? He's like, I miss the locker room.
Yeah.
He's like, I miss those relationships. And I think relationships can kind of be a huge tenet of being successful and not, and you were just talking about like on the bar with Tanner and Zach.
Yes.
It's like misery is company, happiness is company too, man. Like getting along the way. So,
okay, this is going to be kind of fast. What genre of music could we find on your phone right now?
Everything, bro. I'm kind of getting away from rap.
Me too.
I've
been listening to FKJ. Crazy.
Oh man.
Just in the morning, just to get my things going.
I have I'll share my coffee vibe and playlist with you on Spotify or Apple Music.
Spotify.
Okay, I'll share it with you on. So I really enjoy Polynesian music. It kind of brings me back to my roots.
I love it.
Motown, 60s, 70s, 80s funk is what my mom was a classics 80s rock girl. And then, man, I've converted over, bro. I'm a country guy now. Like
I don't mind.
I love it, dude. It's
more of the older stuff, kind of.
I really like it during the summer because I feel like I should be on a beach with a beer in my hand.
It's that visualization aspect.
So, just about anything though, like shout out to Rex Live Raj. That's my favorite rapper right now. I think he's the coldest in the game.
He be like talking to me while he rapping, bro.
Yeah,
and it sounds great.
Larry June. Do you know who Larry June is?
No.
Okay.
Larry June.
Stay healthy. He always starts his little ad lib is, I just want everybody listening to this to stay healthy. Like drinking smoothies and shit. That's what we be talking about. Yeah, bro. I like that. Everything organic, numbers.
All right, rapid fire. Okay. What is something that you will not be doing in 10 years?
That I'll not be doing. I won't be teaching.
Ooh, what is your favorite holiday?
Thanksgiving. Shout out to the pumpkin pie.
What is something you can't do? Something that you can't do.
I don't use the word can't.
I love it.
I'm not able to do yet. I'm not able to yet. Something that I'm not able to do yet is, that's why I asked you about like the lighting and the cameras. Yep. I'm not able to do that yet. Mm-hmm. Something I definitely would like to learn.
Yep. Window or aisle seat?
A big aisle guy.
Oh, you are? Okay.
Yeah, I got to get out.
When are you most inspired, morning or night? We know that.
Morning.
Forces or Converses?
Come on, man.
You see
Come
him?
on, man. I've never owned a pair of G Fazos either. Whoa. So I've never owned a pair of all white Forces. I need to get some. $90 at every Foot Locker ever.
Yes. First celebrity crush.
Jennifer Aniston.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah.
Trend that you would like to see disappear forever. That's a tough one.
Say the question again.
A trend that you would like to see disappear forever.
A trend that complicated is superior to simplicity.
Ooh, shit. Say it again.
Complexity is superior to simplicity. Wow. Sometimes it doesn't need to be complicated.
Yes.
Get back to the simple things.
Simple, yeah. What is your kryptonite?
My kryptonite?
Yeah.
Food. Like I cope sometimes negatively with food. Mm-hmm. It used to be like drugs and alcohol. Mm-hmm. Food is the one I'm like really trying to kick.
Comfort.
Right. Yeah, it is. You like
cooking?
Love cooking.
Same, bro. At first I didn't.
I would shout out to Hootie Holt, man. I saw
Hootie be going hard.
I was like, man, that's pretty cool. He's been known for being a phenomenal basketball player.
Yeah.
And like every time I see on Facebook and he just whipping, man. Like I was like, that is inspiring in itself because it's like I'm not just defined by being a basketball player.
Exactly.
I love to cook. That's actually all my most of my YouTube subscribers are like
Food Network and shit like
Gordon Ramsay, Maddie Matheson. Yeah. He's geeked up at all times, bro. He is geeked up at all times. My fault.
I love what he be wearing. But what do you first notice about someone when you meet them?
Their smile.
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Do you have any questions for me?
Can I do my? Can I? So I have my
rapid fire?
my future podcast questions.
Okay.
These are kind of philosophical. So so just go rap real quick. What does it mean to be human?
What does it mean to be human? A loving, understanding person.
Okay. What is your evening routine or morning routine?
Morning routine, wake up, use the restroom, brush my teeth, facial routine, put on my clothes, get out.
Okay. What is your biggest failure?
Ooh. What is your biggest failure? We
can come back to
it. Yeah.
Okay. If you could eat lunch with 6 people, dead or alive, who would they be?
Okay.
This is one of my favorite questions.
Mahatma Gandhi.
Oh.
Jesus. MLK. Michael Jackson. I want to talk to Bernie Mac. And
if people don't love you, what did he say? If people don't like you for being yourself, fuck them. I love that movie.
And then Dead or Alive. And then it would be Gary.
Okay. 2 more. What is something that always makes you smile?
Seeing my family and my friends smile. And then seeing people do something that they love and they're smiling. That's what I love. I'm like,
Bro, watching my mom smile is one of the best things in the world, bro. I'm a mama's boy.
Bring like a two.
Last one. I have one of my like tactics for like when I'm like really having like a hard day is I have it's called my joyful playlist.
Okay.
What's 5 songs that come to mind that like just bring you joy and happiness?
Who's Loving You, Michael Jackson. Can't Stop the Feeling with Justin Timberlake. I don't know. Hold My Hand, Michael Jackson and Akon. We have Stairway to Heaven, Led Zeppelin.
Big MJ guy.
Yes.
Okay.
And what was this last song? Last one. Let's just do Logic, the 1-800 number.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Biggest failure is not talking to my parents as often as I should be. Like I talk to them at least twice a week, but my mom's always like, "Why don't you ever call me?" Because it's like I'm too busy trying to make something of myself, but I don't remember what got me.
That's why I think like teaching is the perfect like vocation for me right now, is because I get like a mandatory 2-week reset in December, and I get a 2-month hiatus in the summer where I check back in with my roots.
See, I like
and
that.
sometimes I don't get in. I get into this mundane routine where it's like I need to check back in with my roots, bro. So
that's important. Okay, where can people find you and the things that you're up to?
You know, I'm like I said, man, I'm kind of off social media.
We'll put up your email right here.
Yeah, you can do my email cmolifua@hastings.edu. I am on Instagram at imolifua. I'm not on Twitter, not on Snapchat.
If you want him to speak, hit up the C Malafua.
Hastings.edu, or just with questions. Yes. I think that would be a book that I would love to write, is like letters to a motivational speaker, or letters to Casey Moifua, just answering questions. Neil deGrasse Tyson, one of my favorite books that I read was Letters to an Astrophysicist. And I was like, man, that's inspiration right there. Just to write people, actually like handwrite notes back to them.
Handwriting is so...
Yeah.
That's what I started doing ever since you gave me these
YOUvsYOU
bracelets.
Yeah.
And you wrote the hand. I was like, I need to start doing that myself. And that's what I did with the crew necks. I just write a personalized letter telling them thank you for whatever you do.
I got to get an XO.
We'll talk about that. So, Casey, I would like to thank all you trailblazers out there for listening. We are in for a great ride. Thanks for the tips. Your story, Casey.
No doubt, man.
So make sure to follow us on Instagram at Blazin A Trail Podcast. We'll have that up there. So if you guys know of a person who would be great on the show, please make sure to DM me or Casey. Hit him up on Instagram. So Casey, thank you for being my guest, brother.
No doubt, bro. I love you.
Yeah, love you too. Thank you guys for listening to Blazin A Trail Podcast. As always, start with yourself, because you are the one. So make it happen. All right.